So, we're gonna go. Boy, Sam, wait! Yung ticket ko. Hindi mo ako. So, we're gonna...
I'm number 4. Okay, number 4 is behind us, don't worry. Almost late. Good morning, guys. Watch this step. Morning, sir.
Morning. Let's... Hello. So, let's go ahead. Let's go up. Excuse me.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Dito tayo. Okay, so we're here. We're gonna do the island tour for the Millionaire's Row.
The children's life jackets are on the first floor. We will only use them if there is an emergency. Parents with children, please keep them next to you until the trip is over. Please do not let them walk around by themselves, stand up on the seats, or run around the boat. The restrooms are downstairs in the back. The smoking section is downstairs in the front. Tobacco products only. Garbage, please do not leave it on the floor. Please do not throw it in the water. Please pick up your garbage and throw them in the garbage cans. And finally, please do not stand on the stairs. Suggest anything from the restaurant, and I can recommend a cup of water. It's really good. And there's also a Watson Island Yacht Club. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back in a few minutes with more history and more points of interest. In the meantime, you can sit back, relax, walk around the boat, visit the bar, and Julio. Those of you who are wondering, who's probably Julio? Well, that's because in the Spanish-speaking world, she's very well known. She's sold millions of records. But here in the USA, she's kind of a one-hit wonder. In 2002, she released her only English-language album, Porter Girl, with the hit song Don't Say Goodbye. She has also been featured as one of the best judges on The X Factor and The Voice. And now, my favorite story, the Miami story. Once upon a time in Cleveland, there was a farmer named Julia Tuttle and a railroad pioneer and oil tycoon named Henry Flagler. Julia's husband was really bad at managing money, so she met Flagler and his business partner, John Rockefeller. They owned the Standard Oil Company. Julia asked Flagler what type of work should she do. He suggested working on the railroads. Then Julia and her husband used to come down to South Florida very often on vacation. But on one of those trips, her husband passed away. So Julia returned to Cleveland and turned her house into an inn with tea room for young ladies and hoping to make some money. She didn't, which is fine. In the 1880s, she moved down here to South Florida, and with money from her parents' estate, she bought 640 acres of land north of the Miami River, where she started her farm. 1 decade later, Henry Flagler was building Florida's first major railroad system, the Florida East Coast Railway, and of course at the time being the most important transportation system at the time. There was a big advance for Florida because he was also bringing in all the building supplies, and he and his builders were coming on those trains, building towns, cities, and hotels along the way, which made Julia happy because she was hoping that he would eventually bring his line billionaire Ricky Martin. After he sold it, he moved to a blue-colored mansion on North Bay Road in Miami Beach, and he sold that mansion a few years ago as well. So Flagler was stuck in Palm Beach. He didn't want to keep on going. Two-story, gray house, brown roof, right in front of the water, and house behind it. Passengers from Chicago, you're going to be so happy. Somebody from Chicago used to live right there. Yay! He was a mafia manager, and his name was Al Capone. This property was built in 1922. Al bought it in 1928 for $40,000, now worth $14 million. His bodyguards and chauffeurs lived in the house in the front, Al and his family in the house in the back. He worked in Española Way, a little village in Miami Beach, where he ran his bootlegging and gambling syndicate. He loved kids so much, he would throw coins at kids if he saw them in the neighborhood with a little inscription on the coin that said, "Your pal Al." And here in the picture, in my book, the black and white picture, this is a picture of the birthday party that Al had for his son, Sonny, where he invited all the kids of the islands to his house. So he loved kids so much. And yet, the only crime he was charged with was tax evasion. He spent 1 year in the jail of Atlanta, and a few more years in an exotic Pacific island. Let's see, not Maui, not French Polynesia, not Tahiti, the one with the swaying palm trees, the hula dancers, the high-speed internet, Alcatraz. They let him out of Alcatraz early because of his good behavior. Then he came back to this property and got here in 1947. It's another bit of a U-turn. Here it is on your right, a little closer. The two-story green house, brown roof, right in front of the water, and house behind it, Al Capone's old property. All right, folks, I'll be back in a few minutes. Next stop, Star Island. Two record label owners have lived here. First, Tommy Mottola, former president of Sony Music, and he sold the mansion in the early 2000s to the president of Bad Boy Records. His name's Sean Combs. Well, he does live permanently in New York, but he stays here from time to time. And I think he has an artistic theme too. It's like Cocoa Puffs or something, puppy face. Did he buy the mansion? Something like that. I don't know. The 8-year-old beige mansion belongs to John Forte, president of the real estate company Forte Properties. The next mansion belongs to Stuart Miller. And the next mansion belongs to Stuart Miller. And the next mansion belongs to Stuart Miller. Which one does he actually live in? The last one. It's about 9 years old. The other two are under his name. In total, he has 4 mansions. So a little bit of the background on the first mansion. It's from 1945. The previous owner was Thomas Kramer, a German developer who back in the 90s was in charge of having high-rise condos built in Miami Beach. When that city was going through a major makeover process, we can see those buildings from here. He had a yacht, helicopter, lots of parties in his backyard. He even bought an $80,000 air conditioning system that cools the inside and outside of his house. However, over time, his businesses went bad. He owes a lot of people money, and he went bankrupt. His mansion and possessions got taken away in 2012. The mansion was left for auction until Miller, who's a billionaire, bought the mansion for $33 million. As for the one under construction, well, was left unfinished. We don't know why. What's Stuart Miller's job? CEO of Lennar Corporation, a major construction company based here in Miami. I'll skip this mansion. However, the biggest property owner on Star Island isn't Stuart Miller. Prior to this, Lopez's old mansion was on North Bay Road in Miami Beach, and Rodriguez's old mansion was in Coral Gables in the center of the city.
Jennifer Lopez and Alex Rodriguez. They're separated now.
Okay, the Square Mansion, 4 years old, designed by Alan Sherman, belongs to George Lineman Jr., director of the Bay's Art Museum in Miami Beach. So here's a picture of the museum. It looks a lot like this mansion. Now, his father, the late George Lineman Sr., was the founder of the cell phone company Metro Mobile, one of the baby bells of the cell phone companies in this country, which he sold in the early 90s to another for $2.5 billion to another company now called Verizon. Now, this billionaire has the largest property and mansion on the island. He bought 1 lot for his mansion, 1 lot for his garden. Now the property has 268,000 square feet. As for the mansion, 20 years old, built in 4 years, $58 million and 37,000 square feet. Annual property taxes, almost $800,000. Net worth, $1.6 billion this past year. He used to make about $2 billion a year. This is my house. If anybody wants to come over to my house and play video games, come over and play Donkey Kong, Super Mario, Pac-Man, Fortnite, Sonic, Minecraft, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto. No, the mansion is not mine. It belongs to Dr. Phil, but not the one on TV. He lives in Los Angeles. Coincidentally, he is a doctor, and his first name is Phil. Dr. Philip Frost and Patricia Frost. Wait, did you say that name before, Mr. Barrier? Yes, the Dr. Philip Frost Science Museum that we saw a few minutes ago. Anyway, Dr. Frost is a dermatologist and businessman. He has been president of 3 major pharmaceutical companies, respectively, Teva, P, and Opco, formerly known as Ivax. Sure, that's a lot of money spent on one property, but Dr. Frost is also very generous. He donates a lot of his money to charities and to build tourist attractions throughout the city, such as the Frost School of Music at the University of Miami and the Frost Art Museum at Florida International University. How much? $58 million. 1923, and it's one of 3 mansions built by Carl Fisher that still remains on the island. It was a yacht club at the time, that's why it's close to the edge and really long. Had a major makeover in 1998 and a paint job about 4 years ago. One of its past owners was Bob Kitchener, the late Bob Kitchener. He used to play for a football team, the Dolphins, back in the 70s when they had a winning streak. And then from 1987 through March, the owner was Mario Antonelli, the owner of Valley Manufacturing, car accessory company based here in Miami. So at one point he was trying to sell the mansion at $60 million, then $49 million, then $39 million. Finally in March, he sold it for $38 million to Sloan and Roger Bradley. Sloan is the sister of George Lineman Jr., whose mansion we just saw, and Roger is the creator of Beauty.com and owner of Shampoo Companies that sells household, beauty, and health products. Prior to this couple bought a condominium on Fisher Island, $1 million condominium, and a couple of dismal here from San Francisco. So people move objects from one place to another, furniture from one place to another, houses from one place to another. Houses? Yes, houses. We can lift them up and put them somewhere else. That's fine. Remember those 3 Stuart Miller mansions? Here's the 4th one, the 1931 mansion that was also a yacht club. He bought it for $7 million a few years ago, and that's how he saved it from demolition. However, he had the mansion lifted up and moved from the right side of the property over to the left, so they can build this new mansion, designed by John Michael Glazer, in its place. The mansion was built in 3 years, finished 2 years ago. Miller only lived in the mansion for a year. He sold the mansion last year for $50 million to the Hopa Jumbo Trust accounting firm based in Boston, so the owner now is and I remember when this happened, I was working on a Monday and the mansion was already a mansion. A dollar store? Car wash? A Walmart? A mall? Dunkin' Donuts? Water slides? Mini golf? hockey player Shaquille O'Neal moved to Phoenix. The original price was $35 million. He sold it at half price, $16 million, to Russian billionaire Ladislav Golovin, president of Aman Hotels in Russia. So there are what's half a year here, half a year in Moscow. Why the discount? You know, it's just that when O'Neal lived here, his backyard was open, his mansion was different. You could have seen his racquetball court, tennis court, basketball court, pool, even a bobblehead statue of himself on the dock. Darwin didn't like the setup, so he had half the mansion and the whole backyard rebuilt. The next mansion, the newest one on the island, it's a year old. It belongs to photographer John Jenchesky. But in order to build it, Jenchesky had the 1924 mansion that was right here, lifted up, and moved back. The mansion with the gazebo was purchased in September for $20 million by Lauren Schlachleck. He's a private equity investor and one of the managing partners at the Riverside Microcap Funding Company. White Mansion, $35 million, 6 years old, designed by Todd Michael Glazer, 2 pools and an elevator, belongs to Wendy and Wayne Holland. They are hedge fund investors. Mr. Holland's grandparents' mansion from the 1930s was right next door, but 2 years ago they had it torn down. The next mansion was purchased in 1973 for $17 million by Joan and Gerald Robbins. The Robbins family is dedicated to the preservation of historical buildings here in Miami-Dade County. Not only did they purchase them, they also redesigned them with their original Neo-Deco and Art Deco concept, for which us Miamians are famous. Of course, the number 12 converted is 21, while Sam Jacobson, a real estate investor, bought the next mansion last year for $12 million. But he spent $21 million on the reconstruction of the mansion, and the work is being done by Todd Michael Glazer. Even more interesting is that he and his wife, Ronnie, used to live on the island. They moved out in 2014, and this past year they moved back in. I'll skip this mansion. If I skip the mansion, it's because there is no information confirmed, or the owners will not let us in it. Now, the Square Mansion, back in the 90s, used to belong to a Brazilian singer, TV show host, and model named Xuxa. Earlier, I mentioned Miami's most famous singer, Gloria Estefan. Well, she and her husband, Emilio, Miami's most famous couple, have 2 properties on this island. This is one of them. They purchased it in 1986 for $600,000 and built 3 houses on it. We don't just know Gloria from hits like Conga, Rhythm Is Gonna Get You, Mi Tierra, No Me Dejes de Querer, Can't Stay Away From You, among others. They also own a restaurant called the Stefan Kitchen in the Miami Design District, and 2 hotels, one in South Beach called Barbosa and one in Vero Beach. Here's another mansion built by Carl Fisher. He built it for his business partner from Indianapolis, James Allison, who brought him to Miami. Now the mansion belongs to Turkish entrepreneur and Jim Jessel. He's the founder of the contact lens company, Lens Express, which got acquired in 2002 by 1-800-CONTACTS. And this mansion has a 75-foot-long saltwater pool. White Mansion, $40 million, 6 years old, belongs to Lisa and Leonard Hochstetter. Lisa appeared in the reality series Real Housewives of Miami, and Leonard is a plastic surgeon. And the last mansion on the tour. If you think the mansions on this island are too expensive, you're right. The mansion is not only at $95.5 million, or you can rent it daily, $2,400, and the Mansion Brothers and all of his business partners from all over the country could come down and turn it into a major resort city where northern millionaires could come down and enjoy themselves in a lap of luxury. So they agreed to it. I mean, look at it. The location is perfect. You have the beach here. It's a long peninsula, so couldn't pick a better choice for a resort city like this one, right? Plus, it's nice and hot down here, so it works out perfectly. So, there you go. The city of Miami Beach was founded on March 26, 1915. Under Fisher's direction, mansions, buildings, resorts, golf courses, polo courses, stores, islands, and much more were being built. Fisher did all the advertising, the real estate deals, the business deals. He directed everything. And it worked. Suddenly Miami and Miami Beach were full of money, tourists, and businesses. We were Florida's metropolis. We even rivaled the California gold rush. So thank you, Carl Fisher. Oh, and thank you to his pet elephant named Rosie, with whom he did advertising. She would walk around the streets of Miami Beach with him riding on or him walking next to her, and people would take pictures and post them on national newspapers. That's what got people here the first time. Well, this is what the city looks like today. The best part is you don't have to be rich to enjoy it. It's a city for all ages, all lifestyles, and all budgets. The nickname is America's Playground, famous for its beach, restaurants, bars, nightclubs, clothing shops, and so their mansion boys, especially rum, and take them up the river to hide them in the speakeasy bars. Today, the kind of boats that go up the river are tour boats such as this one, fishing boats, yachts, and small cargo ships. That's because the river has 32 private terminals dedicated to the boating and fishing businesses. On your left, we have the tallest building in Miami right now, the 85-story Panorama Tower. It's about 3 years old. This hotel here on your left, with the park right in front, originally was called the Viceroy Hotel. Now it's called the W Hotel, built in 1988. What's interesting is that the design showed it was going to come up to the edge of the river, but when they were excavating to build the foundation of it, right there they found a huge circle. And so huge stone circle. So these archaeologists came over here to study it. They determined that it belonged to the $0.7 million. And anybody who buys a place in this building will receive a free Aston Martin car. If you're wondering, what was the first major building in the city? It was a 5-story hotel next to the river called the Royal Palm Hotel, built in 1897. But it got destroyed by the 1926 hurricane. One of the nicest things about Miami is that we use all sorts of things to make it look good. Architecture, nature, or as you can see here to your left alongside of the sidewalk, art. Even though the city has lots of art museums, the city itself is a free art museum. The city gives opportunity to local artists so they can exhibit their paintings and sculptures, whether it's in a park, in a mall, on a road, on a sidewalk, on a highway, wherever they give them a chance. Did you know that Miami has the third tallest skyline in the country after Chicago and New York? Of course, as you can see, there's so many construction cranes, which is why a newspaper column this one wrote, if Florida has a bird, it would be the construction crane. So much to the point where we're going to put Chicago in third place and Miami in second. Just kidding. So what are the exterior walls of the Intercontinental Hotel made out of? Imported Italian marble, thinking about the business traveler. Most famous building, the Shining Room, looks like a cake. That's the Miami Tower, completed in 1987, designed by Japanese architect I.M. Pei, 44 stories. It's the 8th tallest building. Colors of the lights, depending on the event or holiday, and the building uses rainwater as its only water source. Right now we're passing next to Bayfront Park, which was created in 1980. This used to be the location of the Miami Public Library. In the 1920s of Nelson's Pier, this park has many monuments dedicated to people of historic significance here in Florida and historical events around the world. For example, the white tube structure was built in memory of the 6 astronauts who lost their lives when the Challenger spacecraft exploded in 1986. Or the saltwater fountain in the middle was built in dedication to Claude Hubbard. He was a Florida senator who fought for the rights of the elderly. And finally, we have one of Miami's busiest streets, Biscayne Boulevard, created in 1927. At the time, it was nicknamed the Fifth Avenue of the South for the many tall and modern buildings on its western side for the first half mile. Today, the first half mile is considered the entertainment district of the city because everything is within walking distance. You have Bayfront Park, Bayside, the arena, the 2 theaters, the 2 museums, all nearby. A commonly asked question is, if Julia Tuttle founded Miami, why isn't the city called Tuttle or Flagler? Well, actually, the locals suggested naming the city Flagler, but Henry Flagler said, no, let's name it after the Indians who named the river. So that's why we're called Miami, even though their pronunciation is Miami. So we probably have been mispronouncing it for more than a century now, but we'll just keep it that way for now. Now, can anybody name any TV shows that have come here in Miami? Miami Vice.
So we're
Yes, Oklahoma, the Thunder stands. I forgot some people, please remind me.